218 BC, the world holds its breath. Rome, a republic drunk on its own perceived invincibility, casts a long shadow across the Mediterranean. Its legions, relentless, disciplined, seemingly unbeatable, have carved out an empire. Its navy, born from copied Carthaginian designs in the last war, now rules the waves with impunity. Rome believes it has mastered warfare. It believes it knows its greatest rival, Carthage. Carthage, defeated, humiliated, stripped of its islands, its treasury bled dry by Roman demands. A generation has passed since the First Punic War, a conflict fought on Rome's terms. Grinding sieges, naval battles. Rome expects more of the same. They prepare for that war. Their legions march south, ready to strike Carthage itself. Others move west, guarding the predictable coastal paths from Spain. They are ready for the last war, but they haven't accounted for him, a Carthaginian general forged in the fires of his father's bitter defeat, a mind unbound by convention, driven by an oath sworn in blood and shadow, an oath of eternal enmity towards Rome. He will not play their game. He will not fight on their terms. He understands the fatal flaw in Rome's thinking, the arrogance of assuming the future will mirror the past. Robert Greene would later codify the strategy. Do not fight the last war. Forget the tactics that brought victory yesterday. Create a new reality, a new nightmare. His name is Hannibal Barca, and his plan is not merely bold, it is madness. He will take an army, a city on the move, across a barrier nature itself deemed impassable. He will strike Rome not from the sea, not along the coast, but from the one direction they never conceived. He is coming over the mountains. The Second Punic War ignited with Hannibal's siege of Saguntum, a spark in Spain that set the world ablaze. Rome, outraged but overconfident, dispatched its legions. Publius Cornelius Scipio led an army towards Spain, expecting to pin Hannibal down, to fight a conventional campaign on familiar ground. Consul Tiberius Sempronius Longus prepared another massive force for the knockout blow, a direct invasion of Africa. Business as usual. War fought by the Roman playbook, but Hannibal was already gone, vanished, while Roman intelligence focused on the coasts and the sea lanes. Hannibal had turned his massive army north, then east, tens of thousands of hardened infantry, Libyans, Iberians, Celts, thousands of elite Numidian cavalry, arguably the best light horsemen in the world. And the beasts, the 37 surviving war elephants, creatures of nightmare for European soldiers, living battering rams intended to shatter Roman resolve. His objective, Italy. His route, straight through the heart of hostile territory, culminating in a passage no sane commander would contemplate. The Alps. The crossing of the Pyrenees is a brutal foretaste. Mountain tribes resist fiercely. Hannibal bleeds men, bleeds resources, but pushes through. He reaches the Rhone River. Scipio, realizing he's been outflanked, sends cavalry patrols, desperate to locate his elusive enemy. Too late. Hannibal orchestrates a masterful river crossing. Huge rafts, camouflaged with earth, ferry the terrified horses. The elephants, initially refusing, are tricked onto the rafts, some panicking midstream, their mahouts desperately trying to control the chaos. It's a logistical miracle achieved through ingenuity and sheer force of will. Scipio arrives only to find Hannibal's rearguard disappearing eastward, towards the Alps. Scipio is baffled. He cannot believe Hannibal intends to cross the mountains now, with winter approaching. He sails back to Italy, expecting to meet Hannibal if he ever emerges, months later, shattered. But Hannibal isn't waiting for spring. He is the storm. He drives his army towards the colossal peaks, a jagged wall of rock and ice, separating Gaul from Italy. The air grows thin, the nights razor sharp with cold. The climb begins. The easy paths are guarded by hostile tribes, the Allobroge, Taurini, warriors born of the mountains, masters of ambush. They watch from the heights, waiting. Hannibal knows the danger. He sends scouts, uses Gallic guides, but the mountains themselves are an enemy. Day 1. Ambush. Boulders, loosened from cliffs, crash down into the marching columns. Men scream, horses rear, pack animals tumble into the abyss, taking precious food and equipment with them. Gallic warriors surge from hidden ravines, striking hard and fast before melting back into the rocks. Hannibal fights back. He anticipates an ambush at a narrow gorge, sends elite troops on a night march to occupy the heights above the ambushers. Dawn breaks. The Carthaginians unleash their own rain of death upon the stunned tribesmen. Brutal, necessary, but the cost is always paid in Carthaginian blood as well. Higher they climb, the paths narrow further. Ice appears, treacherous underfoot. An early winter descends. Snow falls, first lightly, then a blizzard. Visibility drops to near zero. Men, unaccustomed to such brutal cold, stumble, fall, freeze where they lie. The wind is a physical force, tearing at clothes, chilling to the bone. Hope begins to freeze too. The elephants, the pride of the Carthaginian army, are dying. They slip on the ice, their immense weight their enemy. They fall, their trumpets of agony echoing unanswered. Food for them is non-existent. They weaken, starve, collapse, symbols of Hannibal's power, reduced to frozen carcasses on a desolate mountainside. Doubt gnaws at the survivors. Is this leadership or madness? Have they followed a genius or a lunatic leading them to a frozen grave? The army is stretched thin, vulnerable, bleeding men and animals with every agonizing step. Supplies dwindle. Starvation looms. It is at their lowest ebb, spirits broken, bodies failing, that Hannibal performs perhaps his greatest feat of leadership. He gathers his officers, points eastward through a break in the storm. Soldiers, you are now climbing the walls not only of Italy, but of Rome itself. Beyond these mountains lie fertile plains, allies, and the riches of our enemies. Endure now, just a little longer. Victory awaits. His words, his unshakable certainty, reignite a flicker of hope in the frozen hearts of his men. They press on. The descent offers no relief. It is steeper, slicker, more deadly than the ascent. A landslide has obliterated the path. A sheer drop awaits. Progress halts. Panic begins to set in again. Hannibal refuses to yield. He orders his engineers, his Numidian pioneers, to rebuild the path. They heat the rocks with massive bonfires, then douse them with sour wine or vinegar, cracking the stone. They chip away, level the ground, create a new path wide enough, just barely, for the surviving animals and men. It takes days, precious days, while starvation bites deeper. Finally, after 15 days of unimaginable hell, the ordeal is over. The skeletal remnants of Hannibal's grand army emerge from the Alpine foothills onto the plains of Cisalpine Gaul, northern Italy. The numbers tell the brutal story. Polybius claims Hannibal arrived with just 20,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalry. Others suggest slightly more, but the losses are catastrophic. Perhaps 30,000 men, thousands of horses, almost all the elephants. An army bled white. But they are here, in Italy, where no Roman conceived they could be. Hannibal has traded flesh and blood for the priceless advantage of surprise. He has bypassed Rome's legions, ignored their naval supremacy, and rendered their entire defensive strategy obsolete. He didn't just refuse to fight the last war, he brought the war to a place Rome thought impossible. Rome is stunned, paralyzed by disbelief. How? Legions are frantically recalled from Sicily, from Massilia. Scipio, the general who missed Hannibal at the Rhone, rushes north with available forces. Sempronius Longus is summoned back from his planned invasion of Africa. But the damage is done. Hannibal has seized the initiative. He rests his men briefly, finds willing allies among the Gallic tribes recently conquered by Rome, eager for revenge. His army swells again, Gauls replacing the fallen Iberians and Africans. Then he moves. The first clashes show the Punic genius. At the Ticinus River, Hannibal's superior cavalry, especially the Numidians, rout the Roman horsemen. Scipio himself is wounded, saved only by his young son, the future Scipio Africanus. A minor skirmish, but a major psychological blow for Rome. Then Trebia. Sempronius Longus, arrogant and eager for glory, is lured into Hannibal's trap. On a bitterly cold morning, Roman legions are drawn across the freezing river, hungry and unprepared, into a perfectly sprung ambush. Cavalry hits their flanks, hidden infantry slams into their rear. It's a massacre. 2 Roman legions cease to exist. The following spring, 217 BC, Lake Trasimene, Hannibal executes one of the largest, most successful ambushes in military history. He lures the new Roman commander, Gaius Flaminius, into a narrow defile along the lake shore, hidden by morning mist. As the long Roman column marches blindly into the trap, Hannibal springs it. Carthaginians surge down from the hills. The Romans are pinned between the attackers and the lake. There is no escape. 15,000 Romans are killed or drowned, thousands more captured, another consular army destroyed. Rome is reeling. 3 defeats, 2 consular armies annihilated. The path south lies open. Hannibal has proven the devastating power of his unconventional strategy. By refusing to fight where Rome expected, by arriving via the impossible route, by employing tactics the Romans hadn't foreseen. He has brought the mighty republic to its knees. He didn't fight the last war, and Rome is paying the price in blood. Hannibal's crossing of the Alps wasn't just a feat of endurance. It was a master stroke of strategy. It was the embodiment of not fighting the last war. While Rome looked to the sea and the coasts, Hannibal rewrote the map, turning an impassable barrier into his highway to invasion. He traded men for time and surprise. He arrived weakened, yes, but he arrived where he held the initiative, forcing Rome onto the back foot, dictating the terms of engagement in a way they never anticipated. He changed the psychological landscape of the war before the first major battle was even fought. Hannibal would continue to terrorize Italy for 15 years, achieving his most legendary victory at Cannae. Yet, he would never take Rome itself. Logistical challenges, Rome's resilience, and the eventual rise of a Roman general, Scipio, who learned from Hannibal's own unconventional methods, would lead to Carthage's ultimate defeat. Eventually, Rome produced its own strategic innovator, Scipio Africanus. He had learned from Hannibal's methods. Instead of trying to defeat Hannibal in Italy, Scipio took the war back to Africa, forcing Carthage to recall its greatest general. At Zama, Scipio, using tactics adapted from his nemesis, finally defeated Hannibal, ending the Second Punic War. Scipio too understood. You cannot win by fighting the last war. Hannibal's Alpine crossing remains one of history's most breathtaking military feats, a testament to leadership, logistics, and unimaginable human endurance. But more than that, it is a timeless lesson in strategy, a demonstration that true genius often lies in shattering expectations, in redefining the battlefield, in forcing your enemy to fight a war they never prepared for. Hannibal Barca lost the war, but won immortality. He proved in snow and blood that victory often belongs not to the strongest, but to the one who dares to gamble on the impossible, the one who refuses to fight the last war. History isn't just what happened, it's how we remember it. If you found value in this journey, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay locked in with Tales Between the Margins. Next episode, we dive into Robert Greene's third strategy of war. Amidst the turmoil of events, do not lose your presence of mind. It's a principle of calm and chaos, and we'll bring it to life through a powerful new historical example you won't see coming. Until then, stay sharp, stay strategic. This is Tales Between the Margins, where the forgotten moments of the past shape how we fight our battles today.